People throw out the term gaslighting all the time, so please give me the opportunity to explain it more accurately from a neuroscience perspective. So it is normal for two different people to perceive events in very different ways and remember things differently. Having two sets of memories from one event is not a sign of abuse. These two things have to be present in order for there to be gaslighting. Number one, there must be a pervasive bias that distorts reality. In many abusive men, this bias is extremely negative. Research by Donald G. Dutton in The Batterer, a Psychological Profile, shows that abusive men react with intense anxiety to scenarios of abandonment that most find innocuous. So their reactions are just off the charts, driven by deep-seated fears and dependency issues. Besides a negative bias, abusers often display paranoid thinking, perceiving threats where there are none, and interpreting benign actions as hostile. So for instance, a simple unreturned greeting might be seen as deliberate insult. So number two, all sorts of people have very negative distortions of reality based on trauma. But in order to make this gaslighting, an abuser also has to have a sense of entitlement, which makes him impose that distorted reality upon you. So an abuser has an illusory superiority bias that makes him overestimate his positive qualities compared to you. He has an egocentric bias that makes him see himself as more central to events than he actually is. And these biases make him believe that he can hog 90% of the resources, or have special privileges, or that he is calmer than you even when he's the one who is yelling. Also, he believes that if he does something wrong, it's based on the situation at hand, where if you make any kind of mistake, it's due to your questionable character. That is the fundamental attribution error. And finally, he's imagining that you are doing and thinking all the things that he is actually doing and thinking, which is called projection. To review, first, an abuser perceives things in an extremely biased way, either negative or paranoid bias, or seeing only what he wants to see. Then his sense of entitlement convinces him that his view is the only correct one because he is so much more rational, fair, smart, and reasonable than you. And he also believes that two people cannot just perceive things differently because he's a black and white thinker. There's right and there's wrong. There are soulmates and then there are two people who have nothing in common, and there's nothing in between those extremes. That's why, according to him, you two always need to be on the same page, and it has to be his page because his page is always better. He's not just sharing a perspective, he's enforcing it as the ultimate truth, undermining your own sense of reality. Gaslighting is not about him just being insecure and trying to protect himself from feeling shame. It's a move to dominate you. He's showing that he values being right and in control over protecting your psyche and your authentic self. If he has to crush your spirit to maintain his authority, so be it. There is nothing to be gained in capitulating to gaslighting. Stay safe and follow for more research-backed tips on recognizing manipulation and control tactics.